Okay, before we get started today, I just want to point out that, no, it's not August 08. Just thought I'd beat you to that joke before you made it. Come on now. You're better than that. If you're invested in the ecology of YouTube, the path of its creators from tried and true format and humor to broader horizons of television, film, or music, you've most likely come across 88 Rising. At this point, there's no shortage of articles and videos detailing just how strange of a company it was out of the gate. Its roots in internet culture unrivaled in contemporary hip-hop and R&B, and its predominantly Asian lineup of singers, rappers, producers, along with how unorthodox its flagship artists already are in terms of brand and image, have made it a notable force of modern music and art. Summer pop collab albums, curated lo-fi playlists, absurd avant-garde music videos, hardcore rap songs about anime characters in a language I'm not even a little familiar with, even recurring team-ups with other big YouTube channels like First We Feast. Whether it's interview appearances or joint fully produced cooking shows, it truly is a product of its time, yet it's also a natural progression of the relationship between Eastern and Western sensibilities, which constantly take direct inspiration from each other. In a phrase that can in no way be taken the wrong way whatsoever, cultural appropriation. Done right. Hey guys, I'm Dylan. I portray that lovable scamp Lanooski on this YouTube channel. I'm here to provide you a makeshift PSA about focus. Camera focus. If you move around a lot from a locked position that you used to mark where I'm sharp and where I'm not in relation to your camera, shit's gonna get fuzzy. Case in point, a good chunk of the rest of this video where I shoot myself. Which oddly enough, makes me want to fucking shoot. In film school, they tell you to mark wherever your talent needs to stand in order to be in focus with the camera. If you move around like a son of a bitch like I do because you can't stand still in order to deliver your material for your content, you're gonna lose your mark, you're gonna have a bad time. It takes minimal effort, really. All you need to do is put some tape. It doesn't even have to be tape. It could be a dirty sock. Yeah, it could be this cap that you put into the outlet to make sure the baby doesn't get superpowers. It would have been that easy. I'm done. This is future me. Past me and all of his bullshit didn't think, oh, this is my third time trying to record this. I better take every measure I can to avoid dips in the quality. And so he did. I think he got some pretty decent, okay audio this time around. It's probably not perfect, but it doesn't need to be. It's fucking YouTube content. Would it have killed him to use the knowledge he learned from years of filmmaking to keep the shit in focus? I think so. Bit over. I should have stretched before I did that. Goddamn. So now that I've explained away the greatest visual flaw that you're gonna see in this video, which I am in absolutely no mood to redo at this point, let's continue with the video essay. Sorry for the detour. Still, cool as all of this might be, I personally find a lot of 88 Rising's output kind of samey as of late. Ballads 1 and Amen were the last two albums I was into enough to buy, and save for an occasional music video or an announcement encompassing the entire label, I don't find myself looking at their content quite as often. For a solid while, there was a whole lot of Higher Brothers. Ooh, goody. Now, with the time that's passed since writing the script for this thing, I just want to say that Nicki's new album is pretty dope so far. Some really cool tones, some real bops in there. She's got a killer voice. That's a good one. August 08, he's got some new tracks out that I really, really like. Ultimately, though, I still stand by what I said. Just a little too much of the same thing for a long stretch of time there, which is, forgivable. Just not as exciting to listen to. Now, granted, my lack of interest over the last couple months has had a lot to do with my own taste in music. When it comes to modern jams, I lean more towards electropop, art rock, or folk, while rap albums need to have a level of ambition or instrumental diversity to them to really hook me in. Plus, having now worked backstage at a lot of rap shows the last couple years or so, I'm pretty sure a lot of the live execution for this stuff just isn't for me. Drop that, that's an expensive piece of equipment. This to say, I'm not ashamed to admit that I'm a bit of an old soul, and that's not a flex, by the way. This is in no way one of those boomer, all-new music is shit takes that you see whenever anyone talks about music. This is just me saying you are what you are, and I'm a fucking granddad. The majority of the guys that I put on this thing are either obscure, ancient, or dead, which oddly enough would make a great name for a playlist of some kind, or if things got bad enough on my end, a spoken word cover album. Looking at you, Shat.
Put a gun against his head, pulled my trigger, now he's dead.
Now, don't get me wrong, overall, I like 88 Rising's overall product of hip sounds and candy-colored aesthetics, crossing grit and fun in a way that I feel like most people could vibe to. I just also happen to think that it's a bit of a shame that with their more conscious tributes to old-school electro and R&B, alongside their heavier appeals to big-dick hype energy, hardcore hip-hop, that there isn't also room for a more lax and low-key sound that's not afraid to be experimental and weird, except plot twist, they totally have that. It's been there the whole time. You ready for this shit? I'm gonna risk knocking over half of my equipment making this bit work, but here it comes. Get ready for it.
Deep end, Canonball, shallow, small, evil moon, lit laughter, cause the sun shadows all people, hoops in a row for jumping through something new, awaits, wish for change, it's a phase, is the moon's favorite turn of phrase.
This cool cat right here is Sen Morimoto. He's a Japanese-born musician who started playing saxophone at age 10. The next 15 years entailed further education, many band gigs, and developing his own musical style, until he eventually made his way out to Chicago from Massachusetts. Once there in the scene, he started making a name for himself as a composer, a producer, and a performer. As you can tell right away, his bag is jazz rap.
I still remember a day, I still remember my name, ooh, I feel awake, I still remember a day.
His first few EPs are more akin to the experimental lo-fi hip-hop that's been hot for the past decade or so. It isn't until you get to his debut LP, Canonball, that his own unique style really starts to jump out at you. Here we have plenty of saxophone-rich compositions with complex time signatures, jumping back and forth between spoken prose and a detached sort of singing that highlights his often anxious, scatterbrained lyrics.
Working on a new type of medicine, it's working but it's not as fun as pot. But that just put me back in my head again, that just put me back in my spot. And that just made me say things I've said again, then again everything's part of the reason we talk. Conversation is one of those things that we lost, sight of and light of a light in the dark. Then again, when was the last intelligent conversation you had that didn't have you lost? Like, everything's nothing and everything's not.
According to Sen, much of the writing on this record was pretty therapeutic for him, a means of expressing the paranoia and uncertainty he's felt throughout a good chunk of his later life. Seeing as we're not that far apart age-wise and more or less have similar ambitions in terms of creativity, I can relate to this insecurity as I listen to his work. Yet even without that baggage of an artist living in the 21st century, I think there's a concrete, universal sense of unknowing and listlessness that many in this generation could relate to, in a manner not too dissimilar from bigger acts who've made a name for themselves in the pop scene. Of course, you wouldn't be able to take away any of that from the views. Hell, Sen's name is one of the few on the 88 Rising Wikipedia page whose name isn't blue. That tells you everything you need to know. Now, in fairness, the relationship between Morimoto and 88 Rising is simply that of an artist and a co-distributor. He's by no means a face for the company the same way that Joji or Rich Brian have been for the last few years. So that in mind, it would be unreasonable for me to expect any of his stuff to go viral the same way that those artists do whenever they drop a music video. And plus, he's doing perfectly fine in the venues and circles that host and support his work anyway. Again though, as a self-proclaimed dinosaur when it comes to these things, I'd personally like to see more artists like this get plugged and supported. I don't think it's controversial at all to say that a lot of the appeal from this recent wave of alt-pop comes from a more introverted, I'm not that much of a partier type of mindset. Now, I'm sure a lot of the artists on that label feel very similarly about partying and being out there and being social. And I'm more than certain that a good chunk of the consumers of this brand are also that way. For me, it just kind of clashes with how half of the videos really go for the jugular with the hardcore hip-hop thing, and the quote-unquote power ballads when performed live have some dude off to the side, usually sporting a do-rag, going, "Make some fucking noise!" Hey, what? Hey, what? Hey, what? Hey. What do you want from me? There is a place for everything. Dark, moody pop can be good. Mumbly rap can be good. Even the swaggering, bouncy hip-hop I've made fun of can, jokes aside, be really good. And before the stands start coming out of the woodwork, don't worry, I'm giving them a chance. They're fine. It's competent. It is what it is. It's not quite for me. I feel like I'm entitled to have that sort of feeling, right? It's a cool cover. It's a cool cover. But what excites me about an enterprise like 88 Rising is the freedom to get really out there if you want to. Canonball might be a year old and Morimoto might just have his hands full with the touring portion and developing new material, but god damn it, more people need to know that this guy's a thing. From the interviews I've read, his tastes are very eclectic. I've spotted mentions of the Beatles, the Jackson 5, Hall & Oates, Kamasi Washington, and Thundercat. I didn't know jack shit about those last two guys before I read it, so just by dropping those names, I was given a gateway to some cool shit to listen to. This while also dropping mention of David Lynch and more obscure artists from the past when describing how he came up with the design for the album cover. He's definitely open to a lot of things and knows his stuff, but more importantly, he seems legitimately interested in bridging the gap between the genres that inspire him, which by proxy could expand the tastes of other people. But if you want to get to where it really counts, look no further than his live performances, where you can see him loop sax harmonies or handle multiple instruments with a full band in tow, all while giving rock-steady, controlled vocals that accentuate his themes and personality as a creative force.
And I took a picture of that picture of a painting, $1 trillion. Now I'm rich and famous, and everyone's so salty. I think I can almost taste it. I think I can make it smooth.
Well, that's pretty much all I have to bring to the table. All I can do at this point is just recommend that you go check out the guy's Bandcamp, where you can sample his discography and, should you so desire, get a physical copy of his album, like this one. Very talented guy, very unique sound, not nearly enough love in my opinion. So until I have time for another one of these guys, I'll see you around. Oh yeah, and 88, plug my boy more, will ya? Thank you. There's nowhere to go back here. Why do I always come back here at the end of my shit?